Hey everybody, this is Nestor Diaz with the Prince George's County Memorial Library System, and this is PGCMLS This Week. Now starting off this week, we have a really great author program with Christina Proenza-Coles, where she'll be sharing from her book, American Founders. American Founders chronicles how people of African descent developed and defended New World settlements, undermined slavery, and championed freedom throughout the Americas from the 16th through the 20th century. Older Prince Georgians, you're going to have 2 opportunities this week to pull out that resume and sharpen it up for prospective employers. Join the library's workforce and community development staff on Tuesday at 2 p.m. and Thursday at 10 a.m. for this resume writing virtual event. Teens, join the Teen Coding Club on the library's Discord channel this Tuesday at 4 p.m. Learn JavaScript, meme making, app coding, and more. There's no prior experience needed to enjoy crocheting and knitting with the Laurel Branch Library Crocheting and Knitting Group. Just bring your own supplies and get ready to get creative Tuesday at 7 p.m. Lenny Duncan, author of United States of Grace, speaks with host Teddy Reeves this Wednesday at 7 p.m. Duncan's book reveals the joy and resilience of those places in this country many call the margins, but that Lenny Duncan has called home. On Thursday at 4 p.m., test your knowledge of different kinds of animals at the Tales and Tales Animal Trivia Summer at Your Library event. The library will be having a special read aloud for Pride Month on Friday at 10 a.m. Stories, songs, and more will be shared in celebration of LGBTQ+ friends and family.
I'm Mulaney Townsend-Diggs, South Area Manager. Families, please join us for an exciting Summer at Your Library picture book storytime event at the National Harbor with Washington's Nationals second baseman Josh Harrison. This special event will be held at the Nationals team store at 150 National Plaza in Oxon Hill, Maryland on Saturday, June 12th at 11 a.m. Meanwhile, don't forget to sign up for Summer at Your Library, Tales and Tales for all ages at pgcmls.info today.
Thanks for watching, and as always, feel free to visit pgcmls.info for more information on our programs, resources, and everything PGCMLS. And you know what? We would not be disappointed if you liked this video. This one, right here. We'll see you next week, and until then, have a good one.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Prince George's County Memorial Library System Community Conversation Series. My name is Nicholas Brown. I'm your host today, and I'm the library's COO for Communication and Outreach. Thanks so much for being with us and part of our community. Today we have a very special, wonderful, distinguished guest joining us, who you can see here on screen. She is Dr. Nakia Wright, and she is a woman of many hats, who is a wife, mother, entrepreneur, community advocate, and motivational speaker, among many other things. Dr. Wright is the founder of A Woman's Voice Matters, and through mentoring, teaching, coaching, conferences, and counseling has assisted thousands of women globally to realize how powerful their voices are. AWVM's motto is simple: your voice matters because you matter, and together, in all caps, we all matter.
Yes.
Yes, and her very distinguished bio continues on. She's done many cool things, launched the Life of Books, which is a virtual book club, was appointed in 2015 by Councilman Derek Davis to serve on the Joint Land Use Study Task Force as a liaison for the faith-based community, actually led the First Ladies for Hillary Clinton, volunteered on numerous campaigns, and has served on boards and task forces throughout the state of Maryland. Dr. Wright is married to the Honorable Bishop Donald A. Wright, and the two currently reside in Bowie with their children and granddaughter. Welcome, Nakia. We really appreciate your being here and all of your work for the community.
Oh, it is an honor to be with you today. Thank you so very much for having me.
Wonderful. So just tell us a bit about yourself. For someone who's just meeting you, hearing your bio, you clearly are very committed to selfless service and public service. And it seems like one of the threads that comes through all of your work is being a part of community in a way that helps others find themselves and fulfill their own potential. Is that an accurate read on kind of some of your approach to life and work?
Absolutely. Nicholas, you're such a wise man, of course. Absolutely. I would never disagree with you. You're absolutely 110% correct. I've spent this portion of my life, I've always strived to be an answer. And answers normally means that you've been through things in life that created you to be who you are today. And I've always strived through my organization, A Woman's Voice Matters, to be what I needed when I needed it the most. It is very easy to come through life, and after you've come through life on the other side, life has the power to wound and scar. And once you come through what almost literally killed you, it's easy to get into a comfort zone, and you only focus on you. But life is, when you live a selfless life, when you realize that if someone would not have helped me, I wouldn't be here today. That's motivation for you to come back and reach those who also look like what you've gone through. As a community, we're stronger together. And when you outlive something, you now are living proof and a vital answer, and you become what somebody else needs to survive. So I've spent my life, again, trying to be what I needed it when I needed it the most. And oftentimes people will not come and ask you for help. You have to have the wisdom, and you have to have the eye to see that somebody needs you. You have to have the compassion to save someone who won't say that they need help. You have to have the wisdom to do it so strategically that in your help that you don't wound. And I just believe that when you help someone else, again, you build a stronger community. 9 times out of 10, the people you help will never forget that you helped them, and they too will bring someone along with them.
Wonderful. So it sounds like the pay it forward model is something that we can take away from your work and the role model that you are in our community. One of the things that in the past year and a half, with everything that we've collectively lived through, and with the history of lots of things that especially our Black, Brown, and Indigenous community members have lived through over hundreds of years, what do you think is special about the way that community manifests itself here in Prince George's County that is different or similar to other communities locally and even nationally?
As you know, let me, before I even begin that, let me acknowledge all of the lives that this pandemic has taken. It hit Prince George's County extremely hard. And when I look at on the other side, and we're not finished, we're still going through, we're still living in the midst of a pandemic. But when I look at Prince George's County as a whole, I say we are a great comeback story. The tenacity that we possess, it requires, this time required skilled leadership in order to guide us through places we've never lived through before. And I believe one of the strengths of Prince George's County is that we had leaders who love the county that we live in. And because of their expertise, because of their compassion, because they felt every ache and every pain that we all lived through, it helped us create answers at a time that none of us knew what tomorrow held. The only constant that we could depend on over the last year was the unknown. And in the unknown, we have some superheroes that did not wear capes. Our essential workers stepped up and they did some phenomenal things. Our political leaders stepped up and they worked together at a time where it was political unrest, racial divide, where it felt like everything that could go wrong did go wrong. It felt like our leadership created a community that I'm a first lady first, and it takes a village. And it felt like Prince George's County created an unstoppable village to not only be reactive, but proactive. When you look at our school system, we were one of the things that you hear about Prince George's County school. Prince George's County is our school system. The Prince George's County school system, under the leadership of Monica Goldstein, made virtual learning happen in a moment. While it was not perfect, perfection does not exist. We worked through the kinks, and we were able to do in 3 months what would have taken years to do. And in a nutshell, the pandemic showed are how intentional Prince George's County is to be successful. Again, it showed that we are a great comeback story. It shows that we have the compassion and the will to come together to produce what's never been seen before. And while there have been some dreams that died on our watch, there's been some beautiful, beautiful stories resurrected as well.
Wonderful. That stirring reflections on our community that I think all of us really feel, whether we're in the county government service or whether we work in nonprofits or faith-based organizations or even the small business community. Like if we think about the restaurants in the small business community, we all rallied to make sure that we were supporting them and not the big mass conglomerate people. Like it's important to support those too, because there are local neighbors who are working in those places. But, you know, let's be intentional about going to the restaurant that just opened that needs our help in order to survive. Let's be intentional about buying products made locally here in the county. So a lot of really amazing stuff has been happening.
What my organization, A Woman's Voice Matters, did a small business tour just for that, because 95% of the businesses in Prince George's County are small businesses. And we did not want to lose our favorite local establishments and have to drive 30 minutes to get our favorite coffee or to get our favorite donut. So we as an organization, we put our monies back into our communities, not only to let them know that we see you and we need you, but on the small business tour, we sow us hundreds of dollars, and anyone that comes to the door during that time, we pay for them. We pay for their coffee. We pay for their food. We made sure that the residents of Prince George's County knew that we saw you. We wanted to just touch you and let you know during this time, you didn't only survive, you thrived. And we wanted to remind you that we are all winners. And we wanted to, again, cultivate that community feel that is necessary to get through hard times. And it is necessary to take us to a place called our next.
Wonderful. For folks who might not be as familiar with A Woman's Voice Matters, can you tell us a bit about the origin story and how the mission has evolved over the years, and what a day in the life of A Woman's Voice Matters might look like?
Yes. As you know, I am the founder of A Woman's Voice Matters, and I began this journey back in 2013 with a group of dynamic women. I'm just going to have a shameless plug and call their names because they're absolutely amazing. Hadassah, Charmonique, Tashia, Laura, Marcy, and did I leave? And Tashia. And together we created this organization called A Woman's Voice Matters. And you were absolutely correct. Our motto is so simple. You can recall it upon hearing it the first time. You matter, I matter, and together we all matter. And our organization has always been, prior to the pandemic, we put on women's conferences just to speak into the life of a woman, because all life that is on the earth comes through the vessel of a woman. And we wanted to make sure that we spoke life into women, so women realized that not only did they matter, they were vital, they were necessary, and they were equal to. And we wanted to make sure that they realized that life happens. And when life happens, you get a village rally around you, and we create things that you've never seen before. We do life skill sessions. We did job training. We do one-on-one mentorship. We do strategy sessions. I always say this, that a dream without structure leads to destruction. So what we do is we add structure to your dreams, and it's been absolutely amazing. Day to day, what it looks like we plan workshops. And we plan mentoring. So each one of us have our own mentees that we pour into, and we help manifest dreams. We also have each one of us, we've built our own small businesses so that, you know, you cannot be an answer if you've never lived through anything or if you've never produced anything. So our small business owners give workshops and customer service skills. Whatever it is necessary and whatever is needed, we create it. We are a results-oriented organization. And when you come to us with a need, we will create a response to it.
What have been maybe some examples of very tangible expressions of that mentorship leading to immediate tangible change with people?
We live, great question, Nicholas. We live in a microwave generation. And when you think about one of the biggest things that we focus on in our organization is legacy. And when you think about those who are coming behind us and who's going to replace this generation, one of the biggest questions we had to ask was the generation coming behind us properly prepared to take over what it is that we are doing so effortlessly now? And one of the things that we did was we've taken a group of 5 young ladies who would be considered the Generation X, not even the millennials. And we poured life into them and we helped them create their own businesses to make sure that not only were they a business, but they knew the ins and outs of accounting, marketing, the only thing in the world where there's so many duplicates. The Bible said there's nothing new under the sun. So in a world where there's so many people doing the exact same thing, what sets you apart from your competitors? So we've done classes where we help them in their marketing, in their customer service, because that's pretty much the only thing that's going to set you apart. And the ladies are thriving. They're in the mall, even during the midst of a pandemic. They did not fail. And when you prepare people not to fail, they don't shut down in a pandemic. They pivot. And that's one of the greatest lessons we've learned. And just following them on social media, just seeing their businesses flourish has been worth every blood, sweat, and tears we did to make sure that they were a success.
Wonderful. One of the things that I think, going back to the community conversation, that is really special here is the role of faith-based organizations in supporting the greater community at large. And I think in a lot of places, when we look at the landscape of faith-based organizations, we might look at that and see, okay, well, they're going to take care of their own, right? And that is not the case here in Prince George's County. And if you follow the county government's partnership with organizations throughout the pandemic, the faith-based organizations were front and center in opening their parking lots and their supplies and their coffers in order to make sure that any Prince Georgian had the resources that they needed to, as you've said, not just survive, but thrive. Can you talk about that unique quality of faith-based organization to community relationship that exists here in the county?
Absolutely, it will be my honor. I had the honor of serving as the chair of the Faith-Based Advisory Board here in Prince George's County, and throughout the pandemic, it has been extremely remarkable to be able to be a relevant answer for our leaders. One of the things that for most of us growing up, when we thought about the anchors in our communities, the first place that many people think about is our churches. Our churches used to be an anchor in our communities. It used to be a place where everyone connected. They went outside of their doors. They were extremely community oriented. And the pandemic, if it did nothing else, it taught us to go back to the basics. And what we did was we got all of the pastors together in Prince George's County, and thankfully they were all willing. And what we did was we said, what can we do? How can we come together to make sure that our community, that Prince George's County, comes out better than what we went in? And one of the things that we realized that we won't get through this without partnerships and collaborations. There's no I in team. And when the faith-based community came together and we united, we did food drives. We paid for rent. We were making sure that we switched over to the virtual platform, because at a time where people thought that they were losing their mind, they still had a fresh word. We came together and we worked as one unified team, and we are the better because of it. We are not going to come out of this pandemic the same way we went in. One of the things that we realize is that we're stronger together, and that we can do so much when we unite, when we take all of our resources. You can reach a few alone, but you can reach the greater masses together. And partnerships and collaborations are the key for this time. And the churches came out from behind their doors. They went into the community, and there was a level of peace that was given during this time that we didn't even have prior to, because the churches were present, they were loud, and they were consistent.
continuing on that thread, how do these faith-based organizations get involved in the daily work of creating change at the policy level in the community, whether it's, issues of discrimination, police reform, environmental concerns, food equity? The faith-based community is there for all of this, and it's helping. I think people in public roles connect with the community in a deeper way, so that we can better understand what the needs are and what is expected of us in order to kind of advance the overall livelihood of the community.
One of the things we have to realize is that education is key. And during this time where pastors were searching for answers, when you look at the dynamics of a church, the most consistent voice that the residents of Prince George's County will hear on a consistent basis is pastors. So I believe that the Faith-Based Advisory Board, our goal and our mission was to bridge the faith-based community and the government entities together. When you bridge them, when we come together, we become a force. Prince George's County can get their information that they want to get to the residents through the pastors, and the pastors are able to not just speak from the Bible, which is so necessary, but they're also able to respond and speak from a political standpoint. This is what our county executive is doing on behalf of Prince George's County. This is what our chief of police is doing on behalf of Prince George's County. When you get all of the leaders together and you speak to the pastors, then the pastors become advocates for the leadership of our county. Most of the times, what you realize that tension or frustration is due to lack of communication. During the pandemic, one of the things that we did is we increased the communication between all levels of governments and our churches. And one of the things the pastors wanted to do is, how can we assist you? What is it that we can do to make Prince George's County a better place? Not only was it the leadership of Prince George's County coming to the churches, it was the churches coming to the leadership. And when you have two people on the same page, you get the results that you're witnessing right now. And one of the most key things is education and advocacy, education and finding out where the food deserts are, education and finding out what does the community need from us in order to make sure that our communities are healthier, they're safer, and they are the absolute best places that we can live in.
Wonderful. Could you tell us a bit more about the life of books and what that is, how it came to be, and how folks might be interested in getting engaged with that?
Oh my goodness. So the Life of Books is my baby. The Life of Books was an online book club that myself and my ladies would come together, and each month we would read a specific book. I believe in this technology driven world that there's nothing more powerful than the power of the pages. There's nothing more powerful than opening the book and turning a page and reading and writing your notes in the margins. And when life happens and you open up that same book 10 years from now and you see your notes that you wrote in the margin, there is a space that you would either see your growth or you can thank God for. Books are powerful to me. Books signify structure. Books signify consistency, and books are what keeps us grounded. If you ever want a mental vacation from this thing called life, read a book. They're absolutely powerful and absolutely amazing, and phones should never replace a book. I'm always grateful for our local libraries, because our libraries should always be a safe place. It should always be a place that we go to and gain strength, knowledge, and information. It should always be a place that we thrive, this generation should always seek to take their kids to a library. It is something about structure. When you walk through the door of a library, you know you cannot talk loud. You know that there's rules and regulations, and most kids do not like rules and regulations. But when you start early, I'm telling you, it will breed and birth something in your child that will last them a lifetime. The Life of Books. Well, let me say this now. I am the founder of A Woman's Voice Matters. But we do have a new CEO that's going to be announced at the end of this month, and she's going to continue on with the legacy. And our motto is there's power in the pages, and we will constantly push people to read books. When someone sits down and take their time to write a book, we want you to read it. We want you to read their words, not only to learn, not only to expand your word vocabulary, but also to expand the capacity of your brain. It's necessary.
Definitely. And we get to work with books all the time. So we're very fortunate that the libraries are a thing that the community has created a culture of. And, you know, within those books, whether you're accessing it in the physical form or through an audiobook, if that's your best way in, or the ebooks, there is so much potential for your own power and imagination and self-advancement and growth just in those pages. And these things that are, this is my AP style book, so this is not very exciting, but this is knowledge here. This is power. This is you becoming a communications executive if you know how to do this.
Absolutely.
And one of the things that we really strive for at the library is creating these environments, now virtual and in person, where anyone can come into our space, and there is no limit to their future. There is no limit to who they can be in that space, whether you want to be a baseball player, run a multinational corporation, be a lawyer, be a pastor, doesn't matter. We're here for you, and we're here to give you the tools that for you to pursue your own interests. And one of the things that I think is really super amazing with libraries, and then I'll turn it back to you because I'm going into a stump speech here.
This is great.
Is that there is no other public institution that supports the educational needs of every human being from birth to passing on. And we are here for everyone at every stage of life. And the most special thing is for someone who had, like me, who was in summer reading as a child, to have then become an academic and doing research library kind of thing and teaching, and then coming back to work in libraries. And then the way we see that parents bring their kids, and then their kids bring their kids, and the grandparent brings their child in. And it's just an amazing, special thing that we have this treasure. And not every country has this culture of deep commitment to public libraries. So hope everyone kind of at least takes that away from my side of our program today.
It's so great. You know, one thing that we used to hear growing up that really stuck with me is that readers are leaders. When you read, not only do you dream, it gives you the steps to go to the next level to manifest your dream, because it's not enough to dream it without manifestation. So when you are a reader, and for anyone that's listening, if you are a parent, a aunt, a godmother, a friend, when you get a young child to read a book, you are posturing them to be the next leaders of our United States of America, of our county, of our state. So I would just do a clarion call for all that's listening. Teach our young kids to have the desire to pick up a book and read. It's the most powerful weapon that you can put into their hands.
And on the flip side of that, you know, for many, many years, what was being put out by the publishing industry was not representing all the stories and the experiences of people who live in our communities. And now we're seeing that being corrected gradually, and things are getting better. And we're seeing Indigenous stories by Indigenous Americans being published by big publishers. But on the moving beyond that all, if you don't see your story represented, put it out. Put your story, right? That's where you get into writing. If you want to be an artist, and do it as a graphic novel. If you are a musician and spoken word and hip hop or rap or pop music or folk music is your expression or your form of expression, that is you documenting your story and your experience and putting it out there, because there's so much in these expressions of our journeys that we think is unique to us. And yes, they are unique to us. The combination of circumstances is always going to be unique to us. But there are points of intersections with others. And sometimes just putting your story out there can touch one life and save a life very tangibly from harm and things that are bad. So we have to be really intentional about sharing the stories, making those stories available, and then encouraging everyone to put their stories out there. We have these amazing entrepreneur 11-year-old authors now who have bigger profiles online than New York Times bestsellers. That's crazy. The YouTube stars and everything is awesome.
It's amazing. And and you said something that was very, very key, is that we need to make sure that there's diversity in our library. I've said this 1,000 times, and I'm going to say it 1,000 more. The grave has too many answers, and you lived through what killed so many other people. And you should chronicleize your story. You should chronicle your story. You should tell it. And listen, let your imagination run. You may not write a nonfiction. It may not be about you. Put your imagination on paper so that you can be the next Diary of a Wimpy Kid. You never know what you'll be able to do. Let somebody pay you for your thoughts. Put that on paper.
Yes, definitely.
Yes.
So is the Life of Books continues on? What does that look like now? Is it a monthly gathering, and how have the books been selected for that over time?
So we, our group of 7 women, each one of us will take a turn and we select a book. Through the summer, we realized that people are not as engaged as they are in the winter months. So beginning again in the fall, in September, we'll begin the Life of Books, and we pick books based on business, pure entertainment, motivation. It just depends on, we like to support our favorite authors, or we like to support those who have strong messages. We believe in first-time authors. We like to support their literary works. And there's no boundaries of the books we'll read or the places we allow our imagination to go. And it is something that's done bi-monthly. It's a panel of us will come around and give our thoughts about the book and give accolades to the authors, because whenever you choose to do something new, or you should be acknowledged, and we cheer people on because we want them to know that we see you. The greatest things that you can give somebody who penned their work is appreciation. So we make sure that we give that to our authors. And you can follow us on a Woman's Voice Matters social media page, and you'll find we give ample amount of time for people to read the book, because we do understand that some people read at different paces. So we give about 30 days notice prior to the actual online book club taking place, and it's a beautiful moment to behold.
Wonderful. Now I'm going to go on a deep book question. What is a book that you read, but you knew going into it was outside of your traditional reading comfort zone? Like maybe it was a different genre, a different type of author, a different format of expression, but that you took something really powerful away from you, and something stuck with you in an expression that was unexpected to align with your interests.
Nicholas, this is going to sound like a shameless plug. I promise you it's not. I have a dynamic husband, and his name is Bishop Donald Wright. He's an absolutely amazing man. Over 40 years ago, he wrote a book called Tonight We Wrestle, which was a New York Times bestseller. I read the book maybe 20 years ago. And when I read the book, my husband is a psychologist. And I was like, this book is too deep. It's too heavy on the psych. Like, I'm getting nothing out of this. This is just words on the paper. I'm closing it. And 20 years later, just within the last 3 years, I reread the book. And in this new place in my life, the book was life for me. And the book was about men doing what they should have done at 25, at 65. And it talks about the internal struggle of a man and the things that he goes through in order to be who he is, how you become a man without being raised by your father, or how you become who you are when life has hit you and you're still expected to be a conqueror when life has worn you down so thin on most days you cannot find your strength. It's a book about courage. It's a book about strength. It's a book about identity, who you are becoming. And it's a book about closing the history of your past and looking forward to what today and your future looks like. It's an amazing read.
I'm going to check it out. That sounds wonderful. That was an excellent endorsement.
Listen, I'll send you a copy. I promise you, it will bless your life.
We'll make it available through the library too, if it's not available already.
Oh, that's wonderful. Yeah. Thank you.
So along those lines of what that book sounds like it does, in this past year and a half, I think it's become increasingly evident for those of us who aren't necessarily in a human support role that everyone's dealing with something, right? Everyone's got a struggle. Everyone's got challenges. There are some challenges that are more extreme than others because of systemic injustice, systemic racism, and that is a huge problem that has to be addressed. But I think the pandemic highlighted for us all that we are all humans. The human condition is a shared thing that we are living through. How can we show up better in relationships with others, whether in the workplace, at home, with friends, or in the community, in a way that acknowledges that someone might be putting on that happy face, but the dark clouds that might be going on behind the scenes never become evident to us. But I think sometimes we're so hard on each other, especially in the workplace, and make assumptions about people, for whatever reason, this person has got to be having a great life, and I'm going to be upset at them because of whatever reason. But people have stuff going on, and eager to hear your thoughts on that.
Well, one of the things that I keep hearing that I think that if we continue to say this, then that means that we didn't learn what the last year was supposed to teach us. And one of the things I constantly hearing is us getting back to normal. One thing that I will say is that we'll never get to a place called back to normal. And if you want to get back to a place where busy was our biggest distraction, if you want to get back to a place where we didn't pay attention to the details because most of the times we were so self-centered that we just didn't pay attention, that means that quarantining, you didn't shut down and realize that we wasted so many vital moments in life on things that did not matter. The quarantine, we're humans we're wired for connection. And when we could not connect, people were unraveling at the seams. And you should have come out of the pandemic. And let me just speak about me. I came out of the pandemic extremely appreciative. I came out of the pandemic realizing that on most days, I was not having the greatest day of my life. And I was triggered by something that someone did, which was called misplaced anxiety. And I did not address the things that was inside of me. We should definitely have sensitivity from where people are now, because we were living proof that when you isolate me, I don't do well. When you put me in a posture I've never been in before, I don't come out well. When you put me in a place where I don't have any help, the biggest enemy to you is you. And when you put me in a posture where I don't have any help, I don't typically come out well. And we have to realize that now that things are opening back up again, that let's pay attention to people. Let's appreciate people, because when we didn't see them, we wanted them. So let appreciation be your greatest motivation. Allow people to have space to not have a good day. Life isn't perfect. We're imperfect individuals. And sometimes somebody, all they need is a kind word from you. You realize how powerful a kind word is. You realize how powerful somebody is when you say, hello, how are you? Bless you. Have a great day. Sometimes your kind word is the only kind word somebody else will hear. So I hope that on the other side of this, that people pay attention to the details, because the day-to-day details are what matter the most.
Well, thank you for sharing that. That was very meaningful reflections. So thank you for that. So are you going to write a book someday?
I am. I'm almost finished.
Okay.
I'm almost finished. I've written like 3 books during the pandemic. I've published none. But I actually have some very defining moments that are coming up in the near future. And the promise to me was to share my story. I'm married, and I've counseled with many women. I've only been married for 8 years, coming up in September. And I counsel many women, some who are newlyweds, others who've been married for centuries. And the fact that they call out to me for wisdom to help them with their covenant means a lot to me. So one of the things that the first book that is going to come out is my experience of what I've experienced through marriage. And it's not all beautiful. It's a beautiful story to tell. But people learn from your lessons. They're not failures. People learn from your lessons. And I put my lessons down in paper in hopes that someone else will not have to repeat the same mistakes that I did. Because the one thing we realize we don't have a lot of is time. So why waste it? So if you lived through something, share your story so someone else will not have to. Experience should not be our greatest motivation. I mean, our greatest teacher. Experience shouldn't. You don't always recover from experience. I believe that when you leave your answers in the earth, that should be somebody, my words, my wisdom should be your greatest lesson where you learn how life is.
Mm-hmm. That makes me think of writers like James Baldwin and
yes,
how much impact people like he continue to have. Every moment someone reads a quote of theirs, picks up a book, sees a movie adaptation of the book, that is transformative legacy that we cannot even begin to imagine for ourselves in our work. But that is the reality of every, if you are a high school sports coach, if you are a youth group advisor, if you are a designer or an architect or a library worker, like our colleagues here in the library, similar to folks who work in faith-based organizations, are touching lives on a daily basis and creating transformative moments without even necessarily realizing that that's what's going on. But if you could spark that joy in a child in being interested in science and they go on to be a NASA astronaut. We have an author who we've gotten to know here at the library who has a New York Times bestseller. And it turns out as a teenage immigrant to the United States, to Prince George's County, it was the library that saved her in high school. And it was the library that was the home for her writing this book that has transformed thousands and thousands of lives through her telling her story about mental health. And, that's, I think, what all of us, when we think about public service and community service, that's what this is about. That's what drives us. And that's what brings us together in pandemics to survive and not just survive, but thrive. And in our community here, be very Prince George's proud.
That's so good. One of the things that I believe is very key is that we will forever talk about this moment in life. This life will forever be talked about for generations to come. And I've said to many people, what will you leave in this moment? What will you produce in this moment? And writing your story in this moment is so absolutely the perfect time. Not only do we have a pandemic, look at the leadership of Prince George's County. We have a leadership of African-American women who've held positions that's never been held before, that's leading our county to places that we've never seen before. Why not write your life story during such a historic time? It's the perfect time.
Definitely. So for probably our last question, I'm going to throw out maybe an odd one, but I think you're probably prepared for it. So what can men learn from women about how to be better men?
Oh my gosh, this is so great. Husband, people want my advice, husband.
Yeah.
First, let me say this before I answer that question. To the women that is listening, there are very few things that a man wants. A man really wants to be heard, understood, and respected. When you respect a man, when you understand, you don't always have to agree, but when you understand and when you listen to him, there's nothing that he will not do for you. And I would say for men, details matter in love. And men are visionaries. And oftentimes they see the big picture, pay the bills, make sure home is good, make sure you keep a job. And because the big pictures are taken care of, they don't always think about the small details. And in love, it's the small details that can slowly erode away at this thing called love and marriage and life. So I will say to a man, pay attention to the very small details, because they are the things that matter the absolute most.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that wisdom with all of us. And Before we wrap, and of course say thank you to you, Nakia and Dr. Wright, for your service to the community over years and years and years, and for the tremendous service that I know is continuing in the future in your world, and that we will all continue to benefit from. I have some new reading to do, so thank you for telling us about your husband's book, and would just like to encourage everyone listening to help us spread the word about our summer learning program, because we've made it really fun and engaging for the whole family together to participate in reading and learning and accessing cool resources, watching movies together, documentaries. So our program is called Summer at Your Library. The theme this year is Tales and Tales, and you can register. It's free, pgcmls.info/summer at your library. Folks can read, folks can attend library programs like this program, attend or watch Washington Nationals games, which is our partner for the program this year, and do a host of other things with the library. And in exchange for doing that awesome summer learning as a family, you can win some awesome prizes, some free books, some giveaways, and also some complimentary Nationals tickets for the summer for anyone who is going to be tuning in. And just before we wrap, Nakia, do you have any parting wisdom or thoughts or plugs for us that we can share with the audience?
Absolutely. I just want to remind our community that libraries are very similar to our faith-based communities. And when I say that, I mean that you all are anchors in our community. It's a place where we can all gather, we can all gain knowledge, wisdom, and expertise. And libraries are extremely vital. And I just ask all the residents of Prince George's County, visit your local libraries, show them some love, go check out a book, go be a part of the classes and the resources that they make available to make us better. It does sound extremely corny, but I promise you, readers truly are leaders.
Definitely. And a perfect example of that is we have some amazing online education offerings where you can get a certification in an IT discipline for free. Wow. And you need that credential to get a federal job at $80,000 plus a year. You don't need a degree and other things like that. And that resource, that training, that education is 100% free for you because the community as a whole decided to invest it in the libraries. And we have our libraries here are nationally recognized. The community supports the libraries, and we've been a really important part in the decades of transformational change that comes out of Prince George's County, whether we think of wonderful people like Taraji P. Henson or Martin Lawrence or Kevin Durant and all of the faith leaders and our county executive and people that have gone on to national service. We are a powerhouse in this county because we all put community first and we put our public service first. And thank you, Nakia, for all of your time today, and we look forward to continuing to connect and collaborate with you. And if there's anything that the library can do to support your work, we are here for you 24/7.
That sounds amazing. I look forward to it, and I wish you all the best, and we'll talk very soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone. We'll see you again next week at 4 o'clock on Thursday.
Thank you.